You ever see someone so far ahead of their time the world couldn't figure out if they were crazy or a genius? Think about an artist who was so different, so out there, that when he first dropped, the world thought he was a joke. I'm talking about a rapper from Atlanta, showing up in dresses and making sounds that nobody had ever heard before. People weren't just confused, they were straight up hating. They said he was killing hip-hop, but here's the crazy part. He ended up drawing the map for a whole new generation of rappers. He changed the entire sound of the game, and then at the very peak of it all, the story flips. He finds himself in a courtroom with prosecutors using his own art, his lyrics, his creativity to try and send him to prison for life. It's a wild journey, but it's about more than just music. It's about what happens when you're so authentic that the world doesn't know what to do with you. It's a lesson. This is the story of Young Thug and what he taught us without even trying. To get Thug, you gotta get where he came from, and it ain't pretty. He grew up in the Jonesboro South projects in Atlanta, and when I say projects, I mean one of the toughest neighborhoods in Atlanta. He called it hell. He was one of 11 kids. Imagine almost 20 people living in a 5-bedroom apartment. That's not just being broke, that's a whole other level of pressure. He saw his own brother get killed when he was 9 years old. You see something like that, it's gonna make you different. So you got this kid growing up in the middle of all this fire, and he starts rebelling. Not just in the streets, he got in a fight, broke his teacher's arm, ended up in juvie. But at home too, he'd wear his sister's shoes and his dad would beat him up for it. But here's the thing, he just didn't care. And that right there, that's the first lesson from Thug. When the world you live in is constantly trying to crush you or tell you who to be, the only way to survive is to become bulletproof to what other people think. That ability to not care, that wasn't him being difficult, that was his superpower, and it was about to make him a star. So when Thug decided to get into the rap game, he did what everybody does at first. He sounded like his idol, Lil Wayne. He was good at it, but it wasn't him. It was like he was speaking someone else's language. The big break came from Gucci Mane, and you know Gucci is a real one. He signed Thug without even hearing a track, just off the strength of his homie's word, gave him a bag and a key to the studio. Now, that's where most dudes would try to make a hit. They'd try to make something that sounds like what's on the radio, but not Thug. He went in that studio and started speaking his own language. He was yelping, screaming, his voice cracking and soaring all over the beat.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I'm on train. Yeah, I got a brain. Don't even think. Yeah, I'm on train. Yeah, I'm on train. Yeah, I got a brain. Don't even think.
People were like, what is this? He never wrote down a single lyric. It was all just pure feeling coming right out of him. He was making music for himself, by himself. And here's the next lesson he gives us. Trust your own sound, even if you're the only one who can hear it. He was getting hated on by everybody, but he kept going because he knew what he was doing was real. He teaches you to believe in your own weirdness because one day, the world might just call it genius. So Thug's got the world talking. Half the people hate him, half the people think he's the future. What's his next move? He decides to turn the heat up even more. He drops this cover, a rapper from the hood in a full-on designer dress, and it wasn't a joke, he was dead serious. He said you can be a gangster with a dress. What he was really saying was, I make the rules for me, period. And that's a bar right there, that's a lesson for anybody. Don't let nobody's box you in. You define your own strength, your own style, your own success. At the same time, he starts his own label, YSL, but he doesn't run it like a corporation. He brings in his actual family, his friends from the block. He brings up Gunna, he puts Lil Baby on the path to stardom. He wasn't just trying to get rich, he was trying to get his people rich. He built a family. He became a boss, but not the kind anyone expected. He showed that you could be a leader while being your truest, weirdest self. He was building an empire on his own terms, but that empire, built on family and loyalty, was about to look real different in the eyes of the law. Everything was going up. #1 albums, Grammy Awards, the artists he mentored were becoming superstars. And then, it all came crashing down, May 2022. The DA hits him and his whole crew with RICO charges. They said YSL wasn't a record label, it was a gang. And the proof they used? His music. Think about how messed up that is. The very words he used to tell his story, the pain, the struggle, the flexing, they tried to turn all of it into a criminal confession. The thing that got him out of the hood was now the main weapon being used to send him to prison for good. The trial was a mess. It got ugly. His family, YSL, started to break apart under the pressure, especially after Gunna took a plea deal. For 2 years, Thug sat in a cell while the world he built was being torn down in a courtroom. In the end, he took a deal and he came home, but not all the way. He can't live in Atlanta. He can't make music about the life he knows. They couldn't break him, so they tried to muzzle him. So after all that, what's the real lesson from Young Thug? What can we take from this wild story? For me, it's this: the world will always try to tell you who you are. It'll tell you you're too weird, too poor, too different. It'll laugh at you. Then when you succeed, that same world might try to punish you for being the very person you fought to become. Young Thug's whole life has been one big bet on himself. He bet that his weird voice mattered. He bet that he could wear a dress and still be a street legend. He bet that his vision of family was stronger than the system. And even after everything, he's still here. He's a walking, breathing lesson that your beginnings don't have to be your end. That being yourself, your whole self, is the realest bet you can make. And that kind of authenticity, you can't put that on trial. That's a legacy that no courtroom can ever lock up. Thanks for watching. If you found this story interesting, trust me, you'll want to see what's going on with Gunna. That one might just change the way you look at the whole situation. Click here to watch it now.